Hello and welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I am your host, Justin Stoddard, and I have a treat for all of you today. I can't wait to introduce you to an incredible lady in so many areas of her life. I'm going to make you wait to hear exactly who it is. I know you can see her already, but let me just restate the purpose of this show, which is to help you think bigger. Your life and everything you want in life, right, will come about as you do the right things. And you will do the right things as you start to think about the right things. So my purpose and my passion are to help you think bigger so that you can do the right things and then have the impact in life that you were designed to have. So with that, I would encourage you, if you have not already, sign up for the regular newsletter, which gives you updates and show notes of the amazing guests that I have. You can get to that at thinkbigger.realestate. That's a website, and I encourage you to do that. I'm honored today to have with me Michelle Bosch. Let me tell you a little bit about Michelle. I'll just start with this. Her businesses have been featured on Inc., Fox, ABC, and Forbes. She has really done some incredible things. Let me tell you about this. Really, as a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and leader, she's a co-founder and CFO at Orbit Investments and a full-time real estate investor since 2002. They've got a really unique strategy. We're going to get into that. But she has bought and sold over 4,000 pieces of real estate. Yes, you heard that right, 4,000 with a comma, pieces of real estate, and built the third largest land investment and auction company in the U.S. I told you this scale's impressive. Bringing that company successfully into the 8-figure revenues in a matter of 18 months. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to have with me today Michelle Bosch. Michelle, thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh my God, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It is an honor to be here. I'm excited to be with your audience today and provide a little window into the world of investing in real estate.
I love that. And before we get into all of that, we're going to keep everybody hanging just a little bit about how in the world in 18 months you created such an empire. I want people to know a little bit about your background. You are from Honduras originally, an immigrant, and your husband is from Germany, also an immigrant.
Yes.
One of my mentors, as I mentioned to you previously, is Brian Buffini, who wrote the book, The Immigrant's Edge. That when he grew up in Ireland, he loved it, still loves his homeland. But when he came to America, he saw and felt something different, which is the land of opportunity, right? It's the coveted place where the ambitious want to come, entrepreneurs want to come because they realize the soil here is so fertile. Talk to us about that, Michelle, about how being in America has really opened your eyes to opportunity.
Yeah, both my husband and I, like you mentioned, are, immigrants into the U.S. I came here in 1995. Jack came here in 1997, and we pretty much walked into the U.S. with 2 suitcases to our name. We both came to study here with a lot of hardship and sacrifice. My mom is a single mom. She raised me as a single mom. My father passed away when I was very young, but she invested in me and, sent me to a bilingual school back home, which is what allowed me, to come to the U.S. to be able to talk to you even, right now during this interview. She had so much faith in me. And for Jack as well, he came from perhaps, Germany is a much more wealthy society, let's put that, that way, versus Honduras. But still, he came from a background where his father was an elementary teacher, his mother a stay-at-home mom. So there was always money, money pinching, counting money to make sure that, to make ends meet. And then you come into the U.S. and, we did what everyone did, which is to get a job. We worked 60 or 80-hour weeks for a big company as consultants, traveling 100%. And we absolutely hate it. And then we realized, oh my goodness, we are in a place where, we were following the traditional track, but we're in a place where you can get an LLC set up for $180 here in the state of Arizona. You file like a 3-page paperwork and you can get it done. In Honduras, you have to go through an attorney. In Germany, it's like you have to have even financial backing and so on to even start a corporation and so on and so forth. So there's so much red tape. And I think the emphasis, though, that I want to bring is the fact that when we came here, or when an immigrant comes into the U.S., you come hungry, you come driven, you come looking for something better than what you had in the past and where you came from. And there's opportunities everywhere. I think that because it's all so new to us, we see everywhere. And because it's common for a person living in the U.S. and raised in the U.S., they don't see them anymore. You know what I mean? So I think it's seeing opportunities that others don't see as a result of just coming from a completely different background, completely different context. So yeah, and now with my daughter, who's now born and raised here, I'm always like walking that fine edge of like, how can I still keep her hungry? How can I still keep her driven while at the same time, you know, I don't want her to fall into poverty consciousness either, you know? So it's a fine line.
So powerful you said that. You know, I spent 2 years of my life on a church mission in Brazil, lived amongst, I didn't live as an American, I lived really as a Brazilian, very humble circumstances.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me, the perspective that it gave. You know, many of my companions that I would team up with down there went back and came out of extreme poverty and were returning to extreme poverty. And I was returning to, you know, a well-known, you know, 4-year university. And it almost felt unfair, right? And there were times where I was, you know, felt like, how can I do more to lift them? And I think if there's one thing that we can all do living in the land of the free or whatever country you're in, I know I have friends actually in Brazil watching this. I've got a comment here from one, is to take advantage of the opportunities that you have. Don't take them for granted. Like don't spend so much time recreating that you don't actually take the time to work. Again, I think sometimes people they'll work just enough to where their needs are taken care of. Yet someone like you who's gone on to create significant success through other people, we begin to extend a hand and send the elevator back down. Like my friend Lou Raja says, send the elevator back down so someone else can also rise up. And I think that's the responsibility of all of us to, you know, that have great opportunities, is that, you know, where much is given, much is required. So thank you for sharing that perspective on kind of your background and part of the reason, I'm sure, as to why you've done what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also that background was incredibly crucial for us because, like I was telling you earlier, we went into an asset class within real estate that is not common, but for us, it was the simplification of real estate. It was, and for me, one of my commandments now is the key to prosperity is simplicity. That's like my Michelle Bosch commandment. Because we started looking into houses and trying to flip houses, trying to flip triplexes. And because we weren't from here, we didn't know anything about construction. We didn't know anything about, you know, contractors, about mold, roofing issues, how to estimate repairs on a kitchen, on a home. That was like beyond our capabilities back then. And somehow we stumble into this niche of land. And it was perfect because for us, we're like, okay, we don't have to deal with tenants. We don't have to deal with toilets. We don't have to deal with termites, with any of the complexities and moving pieces of trying to, you know, flip our home or even like use our credit. It's not that we had bad credit. We just had no credit because we didn't grow up here. And so that background also of an immigrant, you know, really helped us see, okay, there's something here simple that, you know, I can flip for the same $5, $10, $15, $20,000 or more, you know, with higher priced properties. And I don't have to deal with any of the complexities of houses. So I think that immigrant background was also instrumental in us, you know, looking at this other opportunity, you know, within real estate that is completely overlooked, that in my opinion it's like a blue ocean because everyone's chasing after houses. And there you have a piece of land and people are like, oh my gosh, but what am I going to do with a piece of land? You know, it doesn't even cash flow. What can I do with it? And even that, you know, we've been able over the course of our careers, you know, we've been able to, of those 4,000 deals that you just mentioned, I would say a good half of them, you know, were sold and flipped using seller financing, where someone was paying us $300, $400, $500, you know, every month on a note that we created because we offered seller financing. So we became the bank. So even there, I'm going to say, you know, land cash flows. So it does come to an end eventually. But it's an asset class that you can definitely create passive cash flow for a specific period of time.
I want to put this kind of vein that you're going down into a kind of a more broad context that you shared with me, which I think was very powerful, which were the 4 freedoms, right? You've explained to me there's money freedom, there's time freedom, there's relationship freedom, and there's purpose freedom. I want to delve deeper into the money freedom, which you've started to talk about, which is through, real estate investing, specifically flipping land that then folds into, multifamily, et cetera. Let's talk
Yes.
quickly to maybe help people understand that obviously real estate agents that watch this, professionals that watch this, understand that there are great opportunities to invest in real estate. But sometimes, again, we need to have almost a context of why we need to do that, of why it's important to produce more than just what your day job creates, right? Because talk to us a little bit about time freedom, why that became important to you, and how real estate investing kind of played into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's these four freedoms: freedom of money, time, relationships, and purpose. When we had our corporate jobs and we were exchanging hours for dollars, we didn't have the time to go and visit our families in our respective countries. And we certainly didn't have the money because we were living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, we had payments. I remember in our first home, on our mortgage, of course, on our house, on our sofa, on our laundry machine, on our bed. I mean, you name it. We had payments on our car, on everything. Yeah. And so it was like if for some reason, we would lose our jobs, we would be toast. So we're like, there's got to be a better way. We both came here, to study. We both, majored in business, and we're like, there's got to be something that gives us, the ability to do this location free in case we're, outside of the US, that can give us ongoing cash flow, passive cash flow, ideally, and where we're, yes, to an extent, exchanging dollars for hours, but higher, I want to say, in a higher quality way, where I'm able to make, say, with maybe 3 or 4 hours into purchasing a deal and putting together a deal and making 20, 30 grand profits. And so that was our beginning thoughts were, it was money and time. That was our biggest pain points in that moment. Yeah. And it wasn't until we were, at some point 2 years into it, flipping land, we were like, okay, we can't work much more than we're working. We're now finding ourselves working the same 80 hours that we were working in that other company. And it's time for us to start expanding, beyond just my husband and myself. And so that's when we brought in a team, and we understood the freedom of relationships, that we could, we had a choice to bring people that we liked, that we respected, that we admired, that aligned with our core values, and help them grow as well within our company while they helped us grow our company. And that's kind of how we went from maybe 100 to 120 deals, in the second year, to 18 months after that second year started, us being able to bring our business to an 8-figure business by flipping land in an auction format, where we, all of a sudden, instead of buying and selling one at a time, we were having an auction here at the Phoenix Convention Center with 600 people, and we were able to sell 200 pieces of land, in one day. And so we went from being able to sell 120 pieces in the course of a year to 200 pieces in one day. And there is when I think starts the freedom of purpose, when we decide, oh, wow, this is something that is incredibly transformational. We're not just being a win-win to the people that are selling to me the piece of land. There's an incredible win that I'm creating for the people that I'm, selling to now. That is my buyer, and eventually that turned into, how can we teach others to do what we do, which is land flipping, and transform the lives just like this asset class has transformed ours. We were able to retire my husband. I remember within the first 3 years, my husband's father, who had been teaching for almost 35 years in Germany, and his health was deteriorating. We knew that if we didn't retire him quickly, that he would probably survive maybe a year after retirement and then die. You know what I mean? So so you start injecting that the reasons for making money and for having freedom of money and time, you start injecting the purpose behind those as well. And I think it comes from first taking care of your needs, and then you can start looking outward, taking care of your immediate family, then your community, and then recirculating, that wealth and that generosity and those blessings with others. And that's, I think, the stage where we find ourselves now, which is now teaching others, how to flip land and do what we do.
This is so fun to hear this. I tell you, my possibilities are expanding just listening to you, and I'm sure the same is true of others. I want to kind of make mention of a couple people here that have said a few things. Good friend of mine, Diana McCready, who's a fantastic real estate agent here in the area. She says, so true, make a living selling real estate, build wealth owning it. What a great point.
Yeah.
And I think any real estate agent that's listening to this, or professional from any industry, is to realize the power of being an investor, right? I think we can look at this through the eyes of us personally, but also taking the principles that Michelle's teaching us and becoming an educator, becoming a consultant with them, so that the hundreds of people with whom you have direct contact on a regular basis can start to have their possibilities expanded, right? You see this ripple effect where someone like Michelle speaks to us, our possibilities are expanded. We then take that information and begin educating other people. Those that have ears to hear will hear it and do something with it. And then they can in turn impact amazing people. Maybe you're familiar with the book, The Butterfly Effect, how the flapping of the wings of a butterfly, right, can create a hurricane on the other side of the world. They've tracked like how these little tiny molecule movements can have this massive repercussion in other places, right? And it doesn't always have to be a destructive one like a hurricane. But the point is that oftentimes we underestimate how powerful us just having a voice and being and educating and lifting and offering opportunity to other people. And again, what you've shared is powerful. Let's talk a little bit about obviously this relationship quadrant, right? We've got the 4 freedoms: money, time, which you've spoken about, relationships. How does this, being a real estate investor, even to the scale and magnitude that you guys have, and or even on a smaller scale, how does that give you freedom of relationships?
So when we had, our jobs and we were consulting, we had no choice but go to a client and a customer that was chosen for us. We had colleagues that we may or may not have liked to work with, bosses that we may or may not have liked. And all of a sudden you find yourself as an investor in an entrepreneurial journey, really, or as a real estate agent, you are in an entrepreneurial journey, and all of a sudden you find yourself with the ability to choose, who do you want to be a hero to? What kind of client do you want to serve? What kind of sellers do you want to list properties for? What kind of buyers do you want to help? And so you have so many more choices, and so that's, I think, where for us, the freedom of relationships, started. And as we expanded and as we grew, it meant also, bringing people in our team. If there is anything that I would say, something that I learned that I wish I would have focused on earlier, because I was so busy on the freedom of money and time, would have been on the who. Business has 4 pillars. It has the why, the who, the what, and the how, if you think about it. And we were so busy in these 2, and the what and the how, that in the why, we knew why we were doing this, but our who, investing in our who's, even recognizing what do we stand for, what do we stand against, what are our core values, how can we bring people into our group, and into our business that are incredibly core values driven, that take bold action like we do, that, whose core values to be, of everything that they do, that it be excellence, of integrity, of being transformational. I wish my emphasis on that would have been so much sooner. It would have saved me a lot of headaches when, with people that mishires, and just wasted money and time on training that where my team didn't fit those, because we ourselves were not clear on what those core values were for us. So that freedom of relationships has to come with some clarity on your end as to what you stand for, and who do you want to be a hero to, and what kind of values you embody and you want to surround yourself with, whenever you're doing business, whether it be with a seller or with a buyer.
I love it. Both with your teammates as well as with your customers. I love the concept. Jody Rettenhouse, a friend of mine from LinkedIn, never met her before, but she shared this quote. I thought it was super powerful. She said, the customer is always right, yet not everybody has to be your customer.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's great power in that, of like being very clear on who it is that we serve, and being okay with the fact that these people, they don't meet our standards. It doesn't make them bad people, but they just don't fit who we want to serve or who we can best serve. I think when you start to do that, you start to actually fill your life, both your employees, your teammates, and your customers with people who resonate with you. And how much further are you able to go when you eliminate that friction of pulling in separate directions?
Yeah, and it's normal. At the beginning, you have to say yes to everything, when you're starting as an entrepreneur, as an investor, as a realtor. But eventually, it just as important as the yeses are is who do you say no to, and what things do you say no to in order to focus on the main thing, and keeping the main thing.
Right.
And so for us, it's been, this vision of what we call forever cash, which is passive cash flow. And now we are, our last freedom is bringing that same mindset or that same vision and helping transform the lives of others.
It's right. I mean, that's that quadrant, if you want to call it that, is that fourth freedom is the freedom of purpose, correct?
Yeah. And you know what, it's almost like a natural progression. I earlier I was telling you, you first start with kind of like, we were talking about the 4 C's, and we can talk about that later. We're talking about the 4 C's, and you start by having first, confidence in yourself, and trust in yourself, or faith in yourself. And then from that, you extend that to having, faith in the goodness of others. And then from that, you extend that to having faith in the unknown. And but it has to start with yourself first, I think.
Yeah. Believe in yourself. And then you start to get a glimpse of how you can interact with other people, including the unknown, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And something that I wanted to bring back a little bit, you mentioned a quote earlier about a lady that says, real estate is great, and the best part about it is owning to create wealth. Mm-hmm. And I so resonated when you said that. I need to take notes on who said it. I think it was a gal that you mentioned.
It's in the comments.
Earlier.
Yeah, it's Nana McCready. She's actually watching the broadcast live.
Because your audience is mainly realtors. We have here in a vehicle that produces both cash flow and wealth. And it's just a matter of how can we transition from being, just the exchange of hours for dollars and being income statement wealthy, to transitioning that into how can I own those assets so that I can move from being income statement wealthy to being balance sheet wealthy and having those assets start producing. I mean, you guys are already, everyone, that has a real estate license is already incredibly knowledgeable in the area of real estate. And it's just using that knowledge and all those gems that are everywhere anyways, already in your path, and start seeing them from a different perspective, start seeing them, from the perspective of like, well, yeah, I can sell it and make a living, but if, God forbid that, the truck runs me over, I can no longer be doing that. But if I own a property, I can, that is something that can outlive me, that can help support my family even when, once I'm gone. And that's kind of like, going back to the freedom of money and time, that's what we have focused on. And we now even transition from using our cash profits from our land and moving them though into single families, moving them into apartment investing, and the more, I think the more we kind of like step up the ladder of asset class or complexity within the asset class, I feel like the more people that I can bring towards that freedom of purpose, I can create first in class communities, with C class properties, and turn them into the best community in a neighborhood, where kids that are, of hardworking parents, blue collar, all of a sudden I'm able to provide, tutors within an apartment community, where I can provide, a mini library within an apartment. So it's all like beautifully tied together,
It's amazing, kind of what you can do when you start to think bigger, right? When you start to be
Yeah.
around people like you, Michelle, excuse me, your possibilities are truly expanded. There's so much you could teach us, right, about your strategies, kind of the finite stuff. I'm going to leave that to, I know you guys have a very popular Facebook group, and in there, people are sharing a lot of really great free information. Tell us, how do people find that Facebook group?
Yeah, so the name of the Facebook group is called Land Profit Generator Real Estate Investing Group. Land Profit Generator Real Estate Investing Group, and it's a free Facebook group. And we take pride in having attracted an amazing community of over 5,500 land investors that are incredibly generous with their time and their knowledge in helping someone, a beginner that wants to transition from just exchanging hours for dollars, making a commission as an agent, to start investing in something that is incredibly simple. And just, I'm blown away every day by the success of people saying, I have so and so many properties under contract. I just closed a deal and made $30,000, in profits. And it's a daily thing, So that would be a place where people can go and learn more about it. Yes, you have it correctly there, Land Profit Generator Real Estate Investing Group on Facebook, or you can go to landprofitgenerator.com. But Land Profit Generator Real Estate Investing is I think a good place to start if somebody is remotely interested in this. In my opinion, real estate's best kept secret when it comes to simplicity when investing in real estate.
The thing I love about this, that you and I had a conversation with prior, which is this group, even your course, right? The co-creator, you're co-creator of the Land Profit Generator program, that's not your business, right? I mean, that's your path, that's your purpose, right?
Yeah.
Surely it is a business because your time is very valuable and you have to be compensated for your time. But you guys have created an 8-figure business in real estate. And now that you've got money freedom, you've got time freedom, you've got relationship freedom, now it's about how do we create purpose freedom, in the sense that how do we give back to other people to create a similar situation for them. And so I just want people to know that I genuinely sense that that's kind of who you guys are, that your core values, that this is about giving back and lifting other people. It's kind of sending the elevator back down, right? And I'm appreciative of that. And you're the kind of person that I want to bring to this audience, because that's who we are, right? That's it's people that think bigger, not just for our own well-being, but because we want to have a massive impact in the world. And so thank you for that. I want to end with this signature question, Michelle, which is what is somebody like you, right? Who is a big thinker? What do you do on a regular basis to continue to think big, to not stop, but to continue to expand your own possibilities? What does that look like for you?
I think the very first thing that I do is every morning when I wake up, I have been doing now this since 2010. I have been practicing yoga and meditation, and it's my way of feeling strong and powerful for the day. If I have a choice to go and start my day weak or powerful, let me start it powerful. And that's one way that I have found makes me start my day be powerful. For some others, it could be a walk in the woods or a hike or whatever. So that's one thing I do in private. And when it comes, to thinking about my inner world. When I think about my outer world, because we are also the product of our outer world, is I always love to put myself in situations where I am actually the little fish in the big tank. You know what I mean? And, I join groups, where I invest in myself, and I, big money to be part and surrounded of, of a mastermind of entrepreneurial women here in town. And that really, think bigger than me. I also am part of another group called the 10X Ambition Program. And so surrounding yourself with others that are going to hold you up to a bigger standard, that have, that already have a bigger mindset, that think about bigger futures for themselves. Because what I have found is that when I put myself in this, in the company of these people that have a bigger future, also have a bigger income, you know? So, they have a bigger income because they're thinking not just of bigger futures for themselves, but they're thinking about bigger futures for others. You know what I mean? And so, and how can they solve solutions for many more people? And it almost seems like the bigger income is just a byproduct of them having in mind for themselves a bigger future for themselves and a bigger future for others. So I think, yeah, so those are the two things that I do. Something that is intimate and personal, and it goes, added from the inner world out, and the other one is from the outside in, because you are the product of the people that you hang out with, and I want to hang out, with people that also think big and that also have my core values.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So powerful, Michelle. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having you on the show today and sharing you with this audience. I want to thank those that have commented. I actually have a friend out of Brazil. He said, Grande reporter Justin, você é o cara. Now, those of you that speak Portuguese will know what that means, but he's sharing a nice compliment to today's host.
So did you learn to speak Portuguese while you were there?
I did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was completely immersed in Brazil. So,
wow.
Yeah, I speak Portuguese. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank you again so much, Michelle. I want to thank the audience for tuning in today, and I want to end with the final charge, which are 3 very simple words, but with Michelle's leadership and help, they even get easier. Which are these: go, think, bigger. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today, and thank you again, Michelle. It's been a total pleasure.
Thank you very much.